Welcome to the Cultivating Business Growth Podcast, bringing you bi-weekly discussions designed to help you grow your business and create the lifestyle you desire. Elevate your business with proven strategies from virtual CFOs, CPAs, and business advisors. We discuss real-world challenges solved with actionable steps that get you the results you need both in business and building the life you deserve.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cultivating Business Growth. The aesthetics industry has grown incredibly fast over the past decade. New med spas, injectable practices, and skincare clinics are opening every day. But many of these businesses are founded by incredibly skilled practitioners, nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, or physicians who are trained to deliver excellent clinical results, not necessarily to run and scale a business. That's where operational strategy becomes critical. Today, we're joined by Abby Honaker from Pink Sky to talk about why the aesthetics industry increasingly needs strategic operators, people who build the systems, structure, and leadership needed for these practices to grow sustainably. Welcome, Abby. We're excited to have you here today.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I think it's going to be a really informational discussion. I know that not just aesthetics companies or practices, but other healthcare practices run into some of these similar issues. And I think focusing on the operational side of things is critical. So I'm excited to dive deep with you on that today.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay, so let's start. Why clinical expertise alone isn't enough to scale up practice. So we know many practices start with a strong practitioner who becomes an accidental business owner, and they're not really skilled in, financial management, operational management, leadership type skills. Can you talk a little bit about some of the problems you see when you join a practice?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same, across the, industry, whether it's wellness, functional medicine, aesthetics, you have a great practitioner and that's what they're really great at. And what happens is they start to wear all the different hats and they start to dive into operations, and that's not necessarily their wheelhouse or their strength. And they do their best, but it really pulls them away from what they do best, which is treating patients, treating their clients, and getting them the results they desire. So that's where we come in here at Pink Sky. And this is what I've been doing my entire life. And operations really is my wheelhouse, right? I structure SOPs, systems, building these in place so that you as the provider who is exceptional, or you accidentally fell into this business because you're really amazing at your craft, but ultimately you don't have the opportunity. You don't really know what you're doing in operations. And I normally, when I come into a practice that's been open or established for some time, that's exactly where we dive into. We start with, the client journey. We start with their HR department. We start with their employee policies. What does that look like? And what is that structure and flow of the patient as they come in to when they exit, and including our team members as they come in. So what I find they are great practitioners. They have great before and afters. Their Instagram is phenomenal. But when you walk in their clinic, it's, whether it's their culture, whether it's chaos, a lot of times you see that. And so really understanding all of these pieces and starting with one and moving through the other is very important. So anytime we onboard a client, we dive straight into, let's look at what you currently have, explain it to me like I'm walking into your clinic the first time. And then we start to find those little cracks, right? Those leaky holes in the bucket, and ultimately are able to kind of close those up one at a time and build a stronger foundation for the clinic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know it's challenging as you become a business owner and you have to wear so many hats. It's a lot, right? You got to be the HR manager. You have to be, the financial person. You have to be the operational person. And it's a lot. So I think it's important when people or practice owners bring in the right advisors to help them kind of get through those difficult things, because there's people out there that are super experienced in this area. So, they don't have to go and dive deep and become an operational practice manager. There's people to pull in. So I think that's really important. So, and I'm sure you see that a lot.
A lot. Yeah. Learn from my mistakes, not yours. That's what I always tell.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, I think that's the value, right? You can save time and effort if somebody can come in and be like, "Hey, I've done this. This has worked before. Try
Right,
this."
time is money, right? And
Exactly.
not that every clinic is the same. Most clinics are very different in but in their process. But there's a foundation, like I said, for the clinic, but across the industry of things that are non-negotiables
Yep.
that are needed in every clinic. And I think sometimes they jump 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, and they are successful. So if they clean up those internal processes,
Yep.
they're going to see that growth, that scale, that growth strategy that they really are trying to attain.
Excellent. So let's talk about what a strategic operator actually does in a practice. The
Mhm.
operator role is often misunderstood. It's not just a manager, it's the person responsible for building systems that allow the business to function smoothly. Can you discuss some of the top responsibilities of an operator?
Yes, I actually had um, a, a client. We were hiring a manager, and their question was, "Well, what do we really have for them to do?" Or, "I don't really think that there's anything for them to do." And okay, let's just let me write out all the things that we're missing and you should be doing, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of it falls into setting everything up at the beginning
Hmm.
properly and then
Yep.
auditing at the end. A lot of times they get that middle piece where they give that information, or they have like they have this is what we're going to do, and then it's just telling people, right? We're going to add this system, we're going to add this procedure, we're going to add this policy, and it gets created, whether it's educational, whether it's something that is guidance to their team members. It's just made, right, without any kind of system, and then it's just launched. And so when I think about a manager, I think about that beginning phase of really diving into discovery of what a clinic needs and being proactive, not reactive. And what I see
Hmm.
so often in clinics is they're consistently reacting to all of these things getting thrown at them from all sides, right? From the client side, externally, internally, from the team member side. And they're just putting out fires. And they lose that fourth piece, which is going to be their auditing phase, which is really making sure their systems, their processes, and even their patient experience or patient journey is followed through to the end. A lot of those things get left behind because they don't have someone in place who is a strategic operator, who is moving the pieces on the puzzle, or on the board, and making sure that everything is taken care of, looking ahead to the future, seeing where those holes are, coming up with innovative ideas to correct them, and really holding everyone accountable, from the client to the team member, and looking at that and presenting a full picture, not only to the owner of the clinic, the CEO, whatever that might look like, that they are in charge. They own this clinic, and all the mistakes that happen as well, but they really own the innovation and the auditing phase, to keeping everyone on track, holding that account, that clinic, that med spa accountable for everything from, like you said, finances, scheduling, team members, HR. They really truly are in charge of it all. So they have to be just dangerous enough in every
Yeah.
in every category to be successful, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think if you're a scaling and growing aesthetic company, you need to have somebody in charge, right? The proactive piece is what you lose if you just have the doers. Everybody can do, but if there's not somebody overseeing it to make sure everything's happening, or we know what should be happening too, right? So I
Yeah.
think that is important. And I see that a lot too when working with clients, is that we don't think we need that higher up person, because we don't want to pay for it potentially, but the benefit I think is huge, because if you have somebody not only doing, but like you said, the front end laying it all out, and then the back end with the auditing, now you've got a complete picture. And I'm assuming this brings a lot of peace of mind to practitioner owners.
It has to. It's clarity, right? Not only clarity
Yes.
for the team members, but
Mhm.
clarity for the owner. They should be able at any point to see everything that's happening in the clinic, what's coming up, what's been accomplished, what you're working on, where are you going. And a lot of times I think when you do not have a strategic operator, a manager, a CEO, a director of ops, whatever you want to call it, when you don't have someone really managing this process, everything gets lost things and that's revenue. Let's just talk about that. That's full on revenue. When you're not implementing these systems and auditing them and cleaning them up and just making it so that it rolls, right? Like all the tires on the car are moving in the same direction. It really, think of provider time, right? Think of team member time. Think of lost opportunity with patients and clients. There's so much revenue left on the table when you don't have a strong foundation that includes these things, that is managed by a strong operator. For clinicians that, even the best, if you follow any of these great, providers on Instagram, wherever, TikTok, whatever platform you're on,
Yep.
you follow them, I guarantee you their success did not come because they are also managing. They are also the CEO. They are also the CFO of their clinic. That is not the case. They have aligned themselves properly with the proper team members to get in and be able to do what they do best, which is help them to scale and grow, which provides more financial support, right? Because everybody always wants something else, right? If I could just get more clients, if I could just have better ads, if I could just get, if my team could just sell better, we'd be fine. And ultimately it really comes down to someone really, getting in and moving those pieces, but like from discovery to education, to launch, to audit. It's like my go-to strategy. Those are my 4 pillars.
Oh, love it. Would you be able to share a story of going into a place that did not have an operator that was great, and what you guys did and how you turned it around, and kind of just the story of that would be awesome.
Yeah, I had a client. So I do a lot of fractional management. There's 3 levels to working. Well, there's lots of levels to working with Pink Sky, but if you're specifically looking at partner success, there's 3 levels, right? There's the advisory role, there's the hand holding role, and there's the roll up the sleeves and just jump into your clinic and do it for them and with them. And so sometimes you have a client that they just need that. They either do not have someone there, or they have someone that is not up to they're not ready to take all of it on. So I had a client a couple years ago, and she brought me in to be their fractional manager, and a great practice. I'm thinking, from the outside in, it looks like they're just ruling the world. Once I got in there and we started diving into their systems, and she can't finish a treatment because somebody has an issue with scheduling, and she's trying to handle this, and she's looking at PTO, and she's trying to do social media, but really where I need her is doing, 6 figures a month in that treatment room, and then educating on her authority and branding herself as that leader in the industry, which she is. And so she just brought me in, gave me the full, get in there, go after it. And so we started small. We started looking at her different team members and really providing like clear job descriptions. Like, what is your role here, and how do you interact with everyone to make sure that everything is in place? And so we started there. We started with policies. We put together, different, projects that we felt like were most important based on their survey. Because we did a team survey. It's not always about what the CEO or the owner of the clinic thinks they need, but let's ask your team members, where do they feel like the biggest leaky holes in the bucket are? And we kind of developed, and I think I was with them for like 12 months. And over that time, we also built out what that manager, I started taking on the roles of a manager and what that manager should have been doing, but they didn't have one, and taking those things away from the owner. As I did that, we started hunting, right? Looking for someone to fill my role, because long-term, a fractional manager is not going to benefit you as you scale, right? Having someone like me to advise you and continue to help you build as fires come up, of course, and even be innovative, but long-term strategy to manage your practice. For me, it's a 90 to 12 month thing at most, because you really need to have that boots on the ground for each clinic. And so we were able not only to scale several locations, we were able to find them a manager. We were able to increase their culture. So that was the biggest thing, because when I onboarded with them, there was this one provider, and I knew we were going to lose her. Like, I could just tell she was not open to change. She was not open to working with me. She was like, we're fine. And I want this and I want more money. But as we showed her, right, that systems really do create that freedom to be who she wanted to be, and then help her to scale and grow and make all the revenue that she wanted, she really did, after a couple months, dive in. And She's still with them. She's absolutely branded herself as an authority in the space. And it's just amazing to see. And so I was able to hand them over. We call it pink gloving at Pink Sky. We
Oh,
pink
cool.
glove it and then we hand them over. And, now we're just back in that advisory role where we look at things as they want to innovate and bring and grow and scale versus putting out those fires. And so, I mean, there's many of those. I could speak to so many of them that I have come in and been able to roll up my sleeves with and really just take that over. But that's been my biggest success. But even if they weren't able to bring me on as their fractional management, but we were holding their hand, we were able to help them onboard a manager. And I will tell you the freedom that comes from having someone in that position, which you probably know working with, and whether it's aesthetics, wellness, medical, even if it's just any business, when they have a really great director of operations who's in charge of all of the things that are happening and understand it, it makes your job a lot easier, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, it really alleviates the CEO or the founder, the, owner's role because
right,
they don't have to do everything, right? Like
right,
they have a right-hand person. I've definitely seen that with practices that we've worked with when they have a strong operations person, things just move
absolutely.
a lot more smoothly. I would definitely second
Mhm.
that. And it's just less stress for the owner because they're not responsible for everything. They have a person who handles things and brings it to their attention when needed. Like, hey, we need to have a discussion with the owner. Here's what we got to talk about.
Right.
So I've
The
definitely seen the
filter.
benefit of
That's
that
the barrier.
operation.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the buffer, right? A
Yes.
lot of times I'm the buffer, or even that person that comes in is the buffer that separates so that like it's always saying like working in your business or on your business. Like
Yes.
you should be working on your business, not in your business. And so we actually track, one of the things that I track here at Partner Success is hours worked by owner outside
Oh,
of their role. How many hours a week, a month are you working in your business on things that other people should be doing? We
yeah.
track that because if our systems are truly in play, that number should be decreasing every month.
Yes, yes. And we want the owners to be working in their level of expertise and not on other tasks. I had a surgeon once that was entering deposits into QuickBooks. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
what are you doing? I was like, I think we can find a better use for your time. Go home and we can take care of things for that. But
Yeah,
yes,
I have a funny story about that. I have Louis here with me, right? He's my he's my assistant, my person. He's our director of internal operations here at Pink Sky. He started with me as my assistant in another firm, and everyone was like, "Is Louis real? Like, is Louis real?" And what happened was, I was able to start seeing multiple clients. I mean, we're talking 50 clients a month, and no one could understand how we were doing that. It was because I wasn't the one writing the emails. I wasn't the one putting you right. I was overseeing everything, but I was letting
right.
him do a lot of those operational things. And now here at Pink Sky, of course, we have all of those things in place. So I can focus, on my clients and on our strategic partners within the industry and really do what I do best, which is get in there and dive into how I can help them grow. Not those like I said, I don't even type anymore, really.
There's somebody for that, right?
There's somebody, yes,
To
there's
help with
AI
that.
or somebody to like integrate and really help me figure out how. And that's what we do with practices. We help them scale that same way, not always revenue based, but like operationally, right? Well, let's
Yep.
break it down and clean it up.
Awesome. I love it. Let's talk about the turning point. So when practices start to realize they need an operator, many practices hit a point where growth starts breaking the business. What are some warning signs that you have seen in practices that they should be on the lookout for to tell them that they may need a strong operator?
Yeah, burnout. That's a big one. I see that a lot with my owners. Just I'm done. Like I'm done with it.
Yep.
It's huge. Your turnover rate. I onboarded a client last year, and their turnover rate it was unbelievable.
Ouch.
And sometimes when they hire me, we lose a few more people because again,
Right.
change is hard.
Yep.
But that's really a big one. And honestly, you can look at your revenue. So I just onboarded another client recently where their revenue from last December to this December like plummeted. It tanked. And it's not because they're not an amazing location. They're not an amazing clinic. They don't have a great location. They have a great location. They have no operational like follow through. And the owner still is trying to do it all, and their team members, they have a great team. There's a lot of things that they can incorporate to help them clean that out. But honestly, you're going to know it. You're going to know it when you have that burnout, when you have turnover, when you're not seeing your revenue increase and nothing's really changed. I think, those are all things when you're like, okay, now it's time to really look at, who should be handling all this and managing this so we're moving in the right direction instead of circling the drain.
And then can you talk to a little bit about the benefit of having that strong operational leadership?
Yeah. Well, you're going to see revenue, right? And that's what I get a lot of pushback. Like, I can't afford to hire a manager. I can't afford to hire a director of ops. That is a revenue generating position. Even though they're not treating patients inside the clinic, you are going to see your revenue. You're going to streamline your efficiencies, which is going to give you more time with your patients, right? They're going to streamline operations. You're going to get more clinical time with your patient in front of you. So you're really going to be able to build that relationship, which is going to drive revenue. Not to mention the online sales, the events, looking at strategic plan for discounts or memberships. Those are all things. Team training, making sure that, we're meeting the community engagement piece and there's someone organizing that. There's a lot of things that this position provides. Without it is really gonna halt your growth, your scalability, in all honesty.
It's really just too much for one person.
Just
no matter how phenomenal you are, there's only so many hours in a day and you can only be an expert at so many things. It just makes good sense.
You see this a lot with injectors, right? They're great injectors. They're making 6 figures a month and they're like, why am I giving any of my money away? They open their own clinic and they find out very quickly that it's not as easy as it looks. And there's a lot of expense. And I have helped some injectors build out their, whether it's a suite, and it's just a 1-room thing and that's clean, right? That makes it easy, but you have to downscale. If you really want that clinic that's going to run like a well-oiled machine and generate you that revenue where you can still focus on being where you are, you're going to have someone solid running your clinic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you're in the aesthetics industry and feel like your practice is constantly reacting instead of operating strategically, it may not be a marketing problem. It may, or likely, is an operational one. Understanding how operators build structure inside growing practices can make the difference between burnout and sustainable growth. Abby, this has been a great conversation. Where can people learn more about you and Pink Sky if they are interested?
Yeah. So pinksky.life is where you can find us online. Abby_Honaker. You can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We have a YouTube page with more free trainings. You can also click my link tree on my Instagram handle and you can request a free strategy session where we'll build you out your 3, 6, 9, 12-month strategic action plan. And also dive deeper into giving you just a few nuggets of growth strategy. And then we can dive deeper into what you're actually needing.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, Abby. If you found this episode helpful, share it with another business owner who's in the messy middle of growth. Scaling isn't just about more revenue. It's about building something that lasts. Keep that momentum going, and we will see you next time.